Phones, they do incredibly cool things. They can monitor your heart rate. They can turn all the lights on or off in your house. You can pay your bills from your phone. This revolutionized everything for me. When I got to stop carrying around a paper boarding pass, man, that is so great. Do you know that thing that you like put in your passport or whatever? It gets so knotted up and messy and disgusting and gross and it's folded back and forth. I can't stand it. That one piece of paper you don't want to fold up and put in your pocket, that kind of thing. When they ask me, hey, you need a boarding? No, ma'am, I don't. No, I got it on my phone right here. I just scan it. I put my phone on the thing and it beeps, green light, and I go, okay? I never have to go to lunch anymore with one of my friends that says, oh, shoot, I forgot my wallet. Can you pick me up this time? It's like, yeah, I can. You can cash at me too, When you're shopping, you can scan a barcode on your phone and it can tell you where to find it cheaper. Amazon mostly, and it's just there in 2 days. Like all those things. And here's the thing. I grew up without a garage. I don't know if y'all grew up with garages, you hoity-toity people that have always had a garage and always parked in a garage. I didn't have a garage, okay? And so growing up, I just always wished, I dreamed of one day having a garage. The very first house Brooke and I bought, we had a garage. It was incredible, and we parked in it. Some people, they're like, no, we're going to put stuff in the garage, and we're going to use it for storage and all those kind of things. It's like, no. I don't care if we've got to put our stuff and let it rot in the backyard as it rains on it. I'm parking in my garage. And then I found this Chamberlain garage door opener that I could open and close with my phone. And so then as I pulled into the neighborhood, I pulled out my phone, and I hit the button, and my garage door's opening, inviting me in, saying, come park here, please, It was incredible. Our phones, an incredible tool. They offer convenience, ease of use, incredible simplification for our life. Here's the deal. You should write this down. If not, take a picture. It'll be on the screen. Our phone should be our tool, not our boss. Our phone should be our tool, not our boss. Unfortunately, our phones walk around like a boss. The phone is just sitting in your pocket like a boss, bossing you around all day. The average user checks their phone 63 times a day. The average user will tap, swipe, or click on their phone 2,617 times a day. The average time spent on our smartphones a day, 2 hours, 51 minutes. Average time spent on smartphones and tablets a day, 4 hours, 33 minutes. Average time spent on one of the top 5 social media apps in a day, 1 hour, 16 minutes. Doctors have released a list of things that they've seen a large increase in amongst heavy phone users. Here's the list: anxiety, stress, narcissism, depression and loneliness, and sleep deprivation. The Center for Internet and Technology Addiction, they have a terrible website, by the way. If you're thinking, I'm going to go to this website, it's the worst user experience. I don't know how they can be the center for any technology. However, they do have a pretty cool little assessment that I want you to take real quick. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. They're yes or no questions, and I want you to keep track of how many you say yes to. Okay, so you have to just do it on your thumb. Some of you might run out of fingers and toes. There's only 15, so you shouldn't run out of toes. We'll see. It depends. So you keep track of you. You ready for this? And I'm going to tell you how you score based on this, and then we'll ask everyone to stand up based on the numbers. I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. But we're going to keep track of it. Here we go. Number 1, do you find yourself spending more time on your cell phone than you realize? That's a yes or no. Do you find yourself spending more time on your cell phone than you realize? Number 2, do you find yourself mindlessly passing time on a regular basis by staring at your cell phone? Number 3, do you seem to lose track of time when you're on your cell phone? Right, so you're keeping track of how many yeses you've done. Do you find yourself spending more time texting, tweeting, or emailing as opposed to talking to people in person? Number 5, has the amount of time you spend on your cell phone been increasing over time? Number 6, do you wish you could be a little less involved with your cell phone? Number 7, do you sleep with your cell phone turned on or under your pillow or next to your bed regularly? Number 8, do you find yourself viewing and answering texts, tweets, and emails at all hours of the day and night, even when it means interrupting other things that you are currently doing? Number 9, do you text, email, tweet, or surf while driving or doing other similar activities that require your focused attention and concentration? Number 10, do you feel your use of your cell phone decreases your productivity at times? Number 11, got 5 more. Do you feel reluctant to be without your cell phone even for a short time? Number 12, do you feel at ease or uncomfortable? Do you feel ill at ease or uncomfortable when you accidentally leave your phone in the car or at home or have no service or your phone is broken? Number 13, when you eat meals, is your cell phone always part of your place setting? Number 14, when your cell phone rings, beeps, or buzzes, do you feel an intense urge to check for texts, tweets, emails, updates, etc.? Last one, do you find yourself mindlessly checking your phone many times a day, even when you know there is likely nothing new or important to see? Does everybody have your number of how many you said yes to? Okay, cool. So the Center for Internet and Technology and Addiction would say, if you said yes to more than five, it's likely you have a problematic or compulsive smartphone use pattern. What they have found is the overwhelming majority of people that come and see them are scoring more than 9, if that helps you. I don't know if that helps you, but at least normalizes you. I took it. I scored a 12. They have a name for this now. It's called nomophobia, which is an abbreviation of no mobile phone phobia. Nomophobia, the irrational fear of being without your mobile phone or being unable to use your phone for some reason, such as the absence of signal, running out of data, or battery power. So what we have established is that there is an issue, there's a problem, and I'm sure you're probably wondering, hey, I thought we came to church. I didn't think we came to a TED Talk. We're getting to it. It's just setting us up for the next 4 weeks, right? Nomophobia. There was a warning. There was a biblical warning that we were given long before we ever got to here. A lot of people look at this book and they say it's ancient and it's out of date. Yet I have found that there's an incredible wisdom that's found within, and that wisdom is timeless. That regardless of the culture that you happen to occupy at this moment, that the wisdom still applies. And there was wisdom that was dropped on us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, for us thousands of years ago now. And I think this wisdom should have been a warning. And if we take a look at it this morning, I think it's going to introduce us into a few action steps that I think could be helpful for us. This warning comes out of a book called Wisdom, or people refer to it as the Book of Wisdom. In particular, in this particular proverb that we're going to look at, there's a man by the name of Solomon. Solomon is known as one of the most wisest men, or the wisest man to ever live. In fact, he asked God specifically. He could have asked God for anything, and Solomon said, if I could have anything, it would simply be wisdom. And in this particular proverb, Solomon is recounting something he learned from his own father that he thought was wise. And so we pick up in Proverbs 4, verse 23. It says this, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Now, I know you're thinking, that doesn't say anything about a phone or technology or swiping or downloading or YouTubing or Facebooks. It doesn't, but it talks about everything you do flows from your heart. And so obviously our interaction with technology and our phones, obviously that's something, that action is overflowing out of something. And then the writer of the Proverbs here would say, hey, that interaction, that thing that you do, it's coming out of something that exists inside of your heart, you know? Maybe it's a desire to be valued, right? Maybe we're constantly looking for likes and hearts and wows and retweets and mentions and everything else that social media gives us. That desire to be valued, that desire to be desired, that's a valid desire, I think. The question is it a valid expectation to receive from a phone? The desire that we have in us to want to be valued, to want to be desired, all those things, a valid desire, something that should come from our heart. However, is the expectation we put on the tiny God in our pocket, is that a rightful expectation to put on it to say, hey, this is where I'll go to find that satisfaction? A desire for new experiences, is that what it is? That maybe we feel like, man, we're stuck in this place that we are, and so we're just going to live through the lens of everyone else. A desire for new experiences, I think that is a valid desire. The question, though, is it a valid expectation to place on the God in your pocket? Is it a desire to feel a rush, to feel adrenaline, to feel this newness? Like, yeah, that happens when there's an explosion of likes or comments or whatever it is, or whatever you're watching there that satisfies that itch, whatever that might be. As it responds to you, as that tiny little thing responds to you, and you see the response of other people, and all of a sudden you're like, yes, this is what I was looking for. It's a valid desire, but is it a valid expectation? Or maybe you have a desire to make a difference. It's a valid desire. The question, though, is that a valid expectation for the God in your pocket? You see, our heart's desires are strong, and they are valid, and we should pursue them. As followers of Jesus, when something is burning inside of us, we should pursue those things. The question is how do we pursue them? In which ways do we frame up what it is we're expecting and hoping in return? The psalmist says this about our desires. In 37 verse 4, he says, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Let's leave that up there for a second. See, we got it right. We got it right. We have desires in our heart, and we want to get those desires met and fulfilled, and so we have gone to a God to fulfill those. So we are wired to understand, hey, this is it. We have desires. The way we meet those desires is we find a God to do it. God is just saying, hey, you're looking at the wrong God. And in fact, you've actually created something to become a God, and it can't actually satisfy or do anything for you. He said, hey, if you'll delight in me, in King of Kings God, in Yahweh, Jehovah God, if you'll delight in him, then he will give you the desires of your heart. Obviously, there's more to that passage than just, hey, if I'll just delight in him. Delighting in God means that you're aligning your life with what he wants and desires for you. And then suddenly the desires of your heart matches what he's prepared to give you in advance. You know? It's not I can figure out a way to fake God into I'm delighting in you. And by the way, I have these desires. Maybe they're unhealthy for me. Maybe they're not really the best things for me, but they are desires, and I should follow them since they're desires in my heart. That's not what it's saying. It's saying, hey, if you'll delight in the Lord first, truly delight in him, if your life will line up to where you say, you know what, I simply want what God has for me. How do I do that? How do I pursue God? How do I put myself in the greatest place to hear from God, to listen to God, to learn, to meditate on what God has? How do I put myself there? How do I find joy and happiness in pursuing a relationship with Jesus? And when you begin to track on that path, God says, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. Because at the end of the day, our desire will be for whatever he has. And so he sets himself up for success. He sets us up for success. He says, I already know what I have for you. I simply want you to desire me. And when you desire me, the things in your life begin to fall in place, and I begin to give you what I prepared in advance. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Do you have an interest, this desire to be valued? God says, I'll value you. Do you have this desire to feel worth and significance? And God says, I have that for you. I have a plan for your life that is significant. I have that. Are you looking for calling? Are you looking for adventure? All of those things can be found in God. I wonder, though, when we go back to Proverbs 4:23, when he says, above all else, guard your heart. It makes me wonder, why did the author say, hey, you need to guard it? Like, that's a pretty strong word, guard. And not just, hey, pay close attention to your heart, keep an eye on it. Don't let it go wandering off too far. That's not what he said. He said, I want you above all else, guard your heart, When we talk about that imagery that comes to mind when we're setting guards and putting guards on post, when we're asking people to stand on our wall, right? You want me on that wall. You can't handle the truth. Did anyone else go there? That was just me? Okay. Yeah, we want some incredible guards on our wall. The walls of our heart. We're saying, hey, we need to have godly people standing there on our wall. Godly things, godly principles, godly habits, sitting there guarding our heart. Because what happens is what goes in our heart's got to come out. The heart's not a place that gets held, that just holds things forever. It comes in and it processes it, and then it comes out in who we are. And so he says, hey, guard it, because what goes in is going to come out. So don't let anything in that doesn't belong there. Don't let anything in that you don't want everyone to see when it comes out. Guard your heart. How do you guard something, though? You can arm it, strategize with it. But I think the greatest wisdom, if we take a playbook from the military or even the police, they would ask the question, well, first we've got to know who we're guarding it from, because that changes the strategy. We have to know who our opponent is, who our adversary is, and then we can figure out what do we have in our arsenal to put out for protection, to say, hey, we know what they have the ability to do, and we can stop it here. And this little place where we're going to set up this guard, we can stop it here. So the question becomes, what are we guarding our heart from? I think it's simple. It's probably a phrase you are fairly familiar with. Distracted living. Walking around in a world full of wonder, chained to a wannabe God that lives in our pockets. Walking around in a world full of wonder, chained to a wannabe God that lives in our pockets. So maybe that wasn't the answer you were thinking. We already know the dangers behind distracted driving. I would say distracted living is even more of an epidemic. We have laws now that says, hey, you shouldn't touch that thing while you're driving. And I struggle with that. I don't know if anybody else does. I do. In my mind, this is how my mind works. When it's raining, I'm like, cops can't see him when it's raining. Hello. There's water on my windows. I struggle with it. If only distracted driving was our smallest problem that's coming from these tiny gods in our pockets. It's exposing our children to things they shouldn't be exposed to for years. It's feasting away at our free time in the evening when we could be spending with other people. For many people, it stopped becoming a tool a long time ago. And now it's a boss. And if we're not careful, it becomes a god. And I'm guilty of it. Probably more than any of you. It's always good to be able to bring a series to the church and to talk openly about a struggle. It's good to be human for a few moments, right? And just admit. If anything, this series is titled Pocket God, maybe because for you it's just a pocket boss. But for me, it's gone something more than that. Don't isn't the answer, though. Don't isn't the solution. So when you answered those questions earlier, like when you were keeping track of how many you said yes to, the answer to how to fix this isn't to say, well, stop it. Right now, stop it. Like, that's not going to fix it. What we need to do is actually do something. Not say, don't do something, right? Like, we actually need to do something about it. I would say let's focus on doing, not don'ting. There's a lady, her name is Corrie ten Boom. During the German occupation of the Netherlands in World War II, her and her father and family helped hide Jews that were escaping the wrath of the SS. Tons and tons of people hid behind a false wall in their house. She hid Jews in what she called the hiding place. Maybe you've read a little bit about it. She was actually caught, sent to a concentration camp herself. She survived, though not everyone from her family that went with her survived. She lost one person extremely close to her 15 days before she got her freedom. But she said this, and I thought this was just incredibly compelling, coming from a woman who didn't live in the days of smartphones or really even all that great technology. But I loved what she said, and some of you who are history people probably already know the quote I'm about to put up. She said this, "If the devil cannot make us bad, he will make us busy." If the devil cannot make us bad, he will make us busy. Because at the end of the day, something we say here at Foundation, if you're new with us this morning, we say this fairly often. Number one, you belong here. And while you belong here in this space, in this place, in this auditorium, in our church, you belong here. We also remind the people that belong here that people are our destination. The reason that you showed up this morning was not to finally find a place to belong, but to get your understanding that you have found a place to belong. However, it doesn't stop there. There's not a you belong here, period. It's a you belong here and people are our destination. And so after you found that place of belonging, we say, and now go and tell other people they belong here. And the gods in our pockets, they're convincing us that people aren't our destination. That sometimes people can be an inconvenience. That sometimes people can be less efficient. That people can be a little bit cumbersome from time to time. That people don't simplify things, they complicate them. That people don't bring this added value of efficiency to our life. They bring added steps and messiness. And that's different than what we want to be as a church. Now, obviously, as a church, we make great use of social media. You might notice we don't send out a lot of emails. In fact, it's pretty rare we send out an email. If you're brand new with us, you probably found us first on the internet and on social media. So we're not here to slay social media. We're here to say, hey, we need to use it as a tool, and it ought not be our boss. For sure not our God. And I just wonder if Satan is not just saying, look at all the people they're missing because I've convinced them to be busy on that God in their pocket. We have an answer. God gives us an answer. It's found just after the verse in Proverbs we read earlier. Proverbs 4:25 and 27. It says this, let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Keep your foot from evil. Y'all watch those videos sometimes on your Pocket God. All these things, references, are back to your phone. You watch those videos sometimes on YouTube where it gets someone looking at their phone and they're not paying attention where they're going. My favorite ones are the ones that have the fountains in the mall. And they just are like, they're just like chilling. They're just like, man, I don't know what they're looking at, but all of a sudden they're just in the fountain, and their phone's done. Unless they got one of the new phones that's like waterproof. But other than that, like in the old times, like their phone was done. Like it was so valuable to them, they couldn't watch. That's it. And that's what God is trying to say is like, hey, this distracted living thing, like, hey, keep your eyes up and focused on what he said. Hey, if you'll make me the desire, if you'll take delight in me, if you'll keep your eyes on me, I'll give you all the things that you're searching for in this little thing that you created as a God. Just simply use it as a tool, not a God. You tell it what to do. It doesn't tell you what to do. You tell it how I'll use you. It doesn't tell you how it will use you, right? That's not how it works. You give the direction. You set the boundaries. You set the time. You set the expectation. And what comes from you comes from God because God's delighting us. We're delighted in you, so he gives us the boundaries. We set it for our phone. But for us, we are just chained to it. Last night at 11 o'clock, my text message went off. I usually keep my phone on in case something happens. When he goes to the hospital, I want to be there. And so I keep it on. The text message went off, and immediately I had this shot of adrenaline and couldn't go to sleep for 40 minutes. It shouldn't tell us what to do. It shouldn't tell us who we are. It shouldn't jump and we say how high. We pay for it. We choose it. It's our property. It belongs to us. We don't belong to it. So you decide. And if you find someone at your work or your boss that says, hey, no, I decide when that phone is on, you might have a bigger decision to make. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to allow a God in your pocket, you might keep your job, but there's no telling what you'll lose. We have to do something differently. We have to keep our eyes straight ahead and fixed on who we are delighted in. And we have to set the rules and boundaries for the technology that's allowed into our lives. God is against distracted living. God is against you carrying a God in your pocket. God is against your phone becoming your boss. God is for you using your phone as a tool. So I say, let's do something about it. We have a ton of words out of the Bible we're going to digest over the next 3 weeks, but I wanted week one just to set the stage and be incredibly practical. I just wanted week one of our series to say, hey, we've got an issue, we've got a problem, we should do something about it. I wanted to ring a little bit of an alarm bell in everyone's head that says, you know what, maybe we really ought to take a different look at this tool versus boss, tool versus God thing. I just wanted to raise a little bit of awareness and give you something practical for us to do immediately. Immediately. So the first thing I want to talk about is a little ways off. It's a few weeks from now. On January the 24th, we are going to be hosting something we're calling Healthy Families, the Tech Talk. And so we have rented the Wadsworth Auditorium in downtown Newnan, and we are bringing in a specialist that deals specifically with adolescents and the use of technology. We believe in healthy families, and we are seeing not only is it an issue with adults, it's an enormous issue with folks that are middle school, high school, elementary school. And so we've reached out to the guy in Atlanta that everyone on the planet would go and talk to at the moment about technology and its use. And he's going to be here on the 24th to kind of lead us through that. He's got about an hour talk, and then he's going to take questions for 45 minutes or an hour afterwards. And it's just going to be first come, first serve. I think the auditorium there sits about 600 or so. We're going to open up to the community. And we just want everyone to be there. So if you want to put that on your calendar, if you have kids, you should be there. If you have teeny tiny kids, you should be there. I love his line that he uses. He says, hey, it's not about protection anymore. It's about preparation. And the decisions you're making ahead of time before you give a child a phone. There's multiple people that will be in the audience. People who have already given their kid a phone, people who haven't decided when to give it a phone, or people that are like, I'm not really sure about it. So all of those things will be covered. And we just want to be really practical about it. And so the 24th, it's a Friday evening for a couple hours at Wadsworth. We're going to host him, and it's going to be a really great evening. So that's a little bit down the road, a couple weeks from now. So put that on your calendar. But what we want to do today, we've got some friends at Community Christian Church, which is a great friend of ours. They were one of our founding churches that helped us launch in Sharpsburg. They've got a campus at the theater in Newnan, and they've always been just a huge help to us. They've sent people, they've sent resources, and so I was having a conversation with their lead pastor, Ed Martin, and I was telling Ed about, he was asking us what we're teaching in the new year, and so I was walking through this, and he said, hey, I've got this tool I think you should take a look at. You should just take a look at it and just see if you can get anything from it. And so when he gave it to me, I was like, I don't want to get anything from it. I just want to use this. I want to use this. So I asked, can I use it? He said, yeah, the cool thing is we adapted it from another church called Southeast Christian Church in Kentucky. They had something similar. They adapted it. So we're going to be using their version of this. And I'm pretty excited about it because it's challenging. And it might just kick your tail this week. And so if you're here today and you're like, why did I come? Maybe this is it. And so I'm asking every single person here if you would embark with me on a 7-day detox from your phone, right? And so every single day, there's a different challenge with it. It's not a throw the phone in the toilet and flush it. It's not one of those things. So let me go through just day one real quick. I think we have day one that we can put up there. So tonight, this starts tonight. So day one, don't pick up your phone before bed. Disconnect after sunset for the final 2 hours of your day. Sacrifice some screen time for more intentional time and enjoy the many blessings God has graciously given you. Pray that God would help you give him your body, right? So this evening, you set your bedtime, right? That's why it's 2 hours before bedtime. Whatever time you're going to bed, you would go ahead and set an alarm. I'm probably going to go to bed tonight at 11. Hey, Siri, set an alarm for 9 o'clock to tell me to turn off my phone.
Your to turn off alarm is set for 9 p.m.
Great. So you can do the same. If you all did Siri at the same time, that probably won't work because she'll get confused, right? So I'm asking you to, and every day there's another challenge. Right now on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, how ironic, we are releasing the 7-day detox. Oh, this is going so well. Jeremy, can we do this in smoke signals too? Is that possible? I don't know. And so what we're going to release is the full 7 days, so you can take a look at it. Each day has a different challenge, and it's 7 days. Some of you are probably thinking, the first one's fine, what are the other 6? It gets progressively more difficult. And I'll be honest, it ends on Saturday with the complete Sabbath from your phone. Just to say, hey, for a day, I'm just going to turn it off and I'm not going to do it on Saturday. So it kind of builds up to there. And so I get it. It's a lot. But maybe if you're thinking it's a lot, maybe it's not really a tool. Maybe it has kind of become your boss. And so I would just encourage you to think about it, to consider it. I think 2020 has the potential to be an incredible year. But I think for anything to be incredible, we've got to put some work in. Incredible doesn't happen just on its own or by itself. It doesn't just pop into incredibleness. We've got to put some work in. And so I would love for you to join me with this. My wife will be the first person to tell you that I can use this 100%. I could use it and should do a better job with it. And it's not out of hate. It's just she sees me, you know. And so if you can't do it for you, would you just do it just because I am and just to be supportive? And maybe you'll find some benefit as well. But I would love for every single person here to take part in it.